The questions are dividing between A and B, so we can try doing A together and then you can do B on your own. You can always pause this video so that you can try it on your own and then play so that you can check your answer. Question 1 asks to put this polynomial in standard form. Standard form means biggest degree to smallest degree, meaning biggest exponent to smallest exponent. Here we can see that the biggest exponent is 8, so that goes first. So we write 9x to the 8 followed by 5x to the 5 minus 2x to the 3. And finally, 11x. Remember, there's a 1 in the x. Okay, now try doing B on your own. Number 2 is asking for the product of two binomials. This is a reminder. Product means multiplication. So we're going to multiply that first binomial times the second binomial, and you can do this either by the box method or the FOIL method. Put the first binomial on top and the second binomial on the side, but again, it doesn't matter. And since we're going from the outside to the inside, remember, we multiply. So the first box is going to be that top x times that side x. So x times x is x squared. Then we do the second box, negative 13 times x is negative 13x. Bottom left box, x times 13 is just 13x. And the last box is negative 13 times 13, which is 169. And it's negative because negative times positive. Okay, so now we can write our answer, but remember that we have to combine those x's, so the diagonal line. So 13 minus 13, that's 0. They cancel out. So the answer is just going to be that first box, x squared, the combination, but the combination is 0, so we don't write it, and the last box, which is negative 169. And that's the answer. Another way that you can do this is by following the difference of squares. So you see how it's a squared minus b squared? We're gonna use that formula. The reason why we can use that formula is because our product was the same a and the same b. So they had the same numbers. The only difference was that one binomial was being subtracted and the other one was being added. So because of that, we can use this formula. And this formula is a little bit faster than the box method because you just figure out which one's A and which one's B, which is really easy. The first one is A and the second number is B. And you just do A squared minus B squared. That's what the formula says. So you do x squared minus 13 squared, and that equals x squared minus 169, which is exactly the same answer we got using the box method. Now try doing 2b on your own using either the box method or the difference of squares formula. And I got the answer using the formula of difference of squares. But if you're not comfortable with the formula, go ahead and try doing the box method. Now for number 3, it says that diagram below shows the floor plan of a bedroom. And they give you the dimensions in feet. They give you the top binomial and the bottom binomial. So let's say that the top binomial is length and that the side binomial is width. They're asking for the area of the bedroom. And we know that the formula for area of squares and rectangles is area equals length times width, meaning we're going to multiply that top binomial times that side binomial. So x plus 4 times x plus 7. And you can solve this by using either the box method or the FOIL method. I'm going to use the box method. So let's put the first binomial on top and the second binomial on the side. From the outside in, we multiply. So x times x is x squared. Four times x is 4x. X times 7 is 7x. And 4 times 7 is 28. Let's combine those x's. And we get 7 plus 4 equals 11x. And so we write our answer. It's the first box, the combination, and the last box. And that's your answer. And don't forget the answer is in feet, so you can just put feet at the end. All right, so try 3B on your own. Pause this video, try it on your own, and then play for the answer. You can fast forward if you got the answer, and if you didn't get the answer, come back and follow this guide. For number 4, I suggest if they allow you to use a calculator, to just use a calculator and plug in the numbers. I use a calculator in Desmos and I plugged in all the numbers. So as you can see, the first one gives me 3, the second one gives me 4.75, 16, and then a big number. So I know that that one is going to be the last, one, right? Because we want to go from least to greatest. So the first one's going to go first, second one second, third, and the last one is going to go last. And that was just a coincidence, guys. I didn't mean to do it like that. Just making sure. Okay. And since they're going to stay in the same place they were, you just write them in the same place they were. And that was a happy coincidence. Try doing the same with 4B. Plug them in, see which ones go first, pause the video, and then come back to check. For this question, you're going to be allowed a calculator. So again, just plug it in. If not, you can do the method where you break down the number inside. Also, since it's not that big of a number, you can also get it by just finding that 4 numbers that give you 256. So it's the 4th root, right? So that means that you have to find 4 exact numbers that when multiplied give you 256. And if you don't really know, you can start by trying any number. So let's say we tried 3. Let's see, 3 times 3 is 9. Times 3, 27. Times 3, well, let's do the math. It's 81. So it's not 256. So 3 doesn't work. Scratch it off, and let's try 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 is 64. And times 4 is, let's check, let's do the math, 256. And if it works, then that means that the 4th root of 256 is 4. You have to remind yourself, if you have a root, it means what number multiplies that many times to give you 256. Try doing 5b and see if you can get which 5 numbers give you 32. No, number 6 gives you the area of a rectangle in square meters. And it also gives you the length of the rectangle. So it's asking to write the expression that represents the width. Okay, so they give you the area, right? So they give you the inside of a rectangle. So that's the rectangle. And they give you the shading inside, the inside. And they say, okay, that area is 63x to the 7, y to the 6. And then they give you the length. So you can either make the top the length or the side the length. I'm going to make it the top. Okay, so what's the formula for finding area? It's area equals length times width. But we're not finding area, we're finding width. And you can see in 6b, I'm going to do it quickly, but here let me show you why we're going to be dividing. So we write area equals the length, which is 7x cubed y to the 4th, times the width. And so to get the width alone, we're going to divide that green monomial. And whatever we do to one side, we do it to the other. So we divide it, that cancels, and we do it to the other side as well. Why this is possible? Remember, whenever we have, for example, 3x equals 6, and we wanted to get x alone, what did we do to that 3? Well, since it's being multiplied, we have to do the opposite. We divided, and whatever we did to that side, we did to the other, and that's how we got x alone. So here, it works the same with w. We divide that same number, we get w alone, and now we get w equals that blue monomial divided by the black monomial, right? Which is going to be the area divided by the length. So let's start by dividing. So what is 63 divided by 7? That is 9. And to divide those x's, we use the quotient of powers rule, which says whenever dividing, we keep the same base and we subtract the exponents. So let's keep the x, and let's do 7 minus 3, and that's 4. Let's apply the same rule to y. 6 minus 4 equals 2. So we write y to the 2. Since there's nothing else to combine, that is our answer. Now try doing b, or just stick around right now and see how I do it faster. Again, they give us the area and they give us the length, and they want us to find the width. Okay, so I was saying area equals length times width. And since we want to find width, then let's just move that length to the other side right now to make it easier. So we'll do width equals area divided by length. In this way, we don't have to have so much writing. We can just plug in directly. So we have width equals the area, which is the blue, divided by the length, which is the green. And since we're dividing monomials, we can just use the exponential properties. Again, there's nothing to distribute here, so just start dividing. 81 divided by 3, that's 27. Then we divide those x's and we use the quotients of powers rule, which says we keep the same base, but we subtract the exponents. So it's 9 minus 3 equals 6. And remember, it's top minus bottom. And we apply the same rule to y. So we get y to the 2. And since there's nothing else to combine, that is our answer. Okay, number 7 is asking to expand the polynomial. So since it's being squared, that just means it multiplies twice. So everything inside the parentheses is going to be multiplied twice. So it's going to be the binomial multiplied by the same binomial. And you can do either the box method or the FOIL method, or you can do the rule, the perfect square trinomials rule, which is this one, right? It's being subtracted, so it looks like that. So the first term is going to be the a, the second term is going to be the b, right? That's the a and the b. And it says, okay, if it's being subtracted, then we follow this formula, which is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. From there, we just plug in. So a is 2x. Remember, we put it in parentheses. So 2x squared minus 2 times a. A is 2x times b. B is 5 plus b squared. So that's b is 5, so 5 squared. So let's simplify that first a. That exponent distributes to both the 2 and the x. So we get 4x squared. Let's do the middle. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 5 is 20. And then we do the end term, so 5 squared is 25. And yay, we get the answer. But if you don't like this method, and if it confuses you, go ahead and do the box method or the FOIL method. So try whichever method you want for 7b, pause the video, and then come back to check if your answer is correct. If you don't need any more practice with this, feel free to move on. For 8, we're writing an expression that is equivalent. Many expressions could be equivalent, but I'm going to think, okay, what number goes into 190 and 76? And I think 19 goes into both. So I'm going to also take out a d because both terms have a d, so I can do that. I take 19D from the first one, and 190 divided by 19, I have 10 left. I had 3 Ds, but I took one out, so I am left with 2. Let's do the second term. It's negative, so we write the minus. 76 divided by 19 is, let's do the math. I think it's 4. Let's check with the multiplication. It is 4. And since we only had 1 D, but we took it out, we don't have to write another D. And that's our answer. Try doing the next one on your own and see if you can get it. All right, for number 9, we're going to be using the exponential properties. First, let's distribute that 7. That's the power to a power rule, which says whenever there's a power and another power, we multiply those numbers. We multiply the exponents. So 5 times 7, that's 35. So we write x to the 19 times x to the 35. Now we're multiplying, and that's the product of powers rule, which says that we keep the base and we add the exponents. So we keep x, and then 19 plus 35, that equals 54. So the answer is x to the 54, but they're asking for the value of p. So the value of p is just that 54. Try doing the next one. And remember, they're asking for p. So when you get the answer, just write p equals whatever exponent you get at the end. So 10 is just asking what is the equivalent. So basically all you have to do is distribute and simplify. So first, let's distribute that negative 3 over 4. So we distribute it to everything inside the parentheses. We give it to the 4q and to the negative 9. So a negative 3 over 4 times 4, the 4's cancel, and we are left with negative 3. And we write that 1q. And then now we do negative 3 over 4 times negative 9. And since they're both negative, we get positive. And so let's do 3 times 9 divided by 4. So 3 times 9 is 27. And we divide 27 by 4. We can't. So we just write that 27 divided by 4. Okay, we're done distributing. Let's continue with the last term. Nothing's happening to it, so we just bring it down. Okay, now that we don't have to distribute anything else, now we can combine. So let's combine like terms. So we got that 11q to the 3, and we can combine it with that 7q to the 3. So what's 11 plus 7? That's 18. So 18q to the 3. Then let's combine that negative 3q. There's nothing we can combine it with, so we just leave it alone and we bring it down. And last, we do 27 over 4. We can't combine it with anything else either, so we just bring it down, and that gives us our answer. Try doing the same with 10b and see if you get it correctly. Okay, so question 11 is talking about two people kicking a ball. Each height is represented by the polynomials. So it says, which polynomial expression represents the distance between your ball? Distance between, that means subtraction. So we're going to subtract your distance minus your sibling's distance with the ball. So let's write that blue polynomial minus the green polynomial. And whenever we're subtracting polynomials, remember that we first have to distribute that negative sign. So whenever you multiply times a -1, which is essentially that negative sign, the thing that happens is that the signs flip. So if a negative turns positive and a positive turns negative. So that 18 was negative, so now it's going to become positive. The 33 was positive, so now it's going to become negative. And that 1 was positive and it's going to become negative. So now that we rewrote, we can start combining like terms. So we have that -18t squared, and we can combine it with the positive 18t squared. -18 plus 18 cancels. Let's continue with 32t. We can combine it with the -33t. 32 minus 33 gives us -1. So we write -1t. And now we can do the numbers. 5 with the -1. 5 minus 1, that's 4. And so we write +4, and that should give us our answer. Try doing 11b on your own and see if you can get the correct answer. Oh, I almost forgot. Don't forget your feet. Okay, so number 12, it says Emily worked to determine the quotient. Quotient means division. She did that trinomial divided by that binomial. And she said that the answer was x plus 3. Now, let's see if she was correct or not. So work this out using the box method and see if you get the same answer Emily got, or if maybe Emily's forgetting something. So we draw the box, we have an exponent of 2, so it's 2 columns, and we have 2 terms in the divisor, so that's 2 rows. We write the divisor on the side, and we know that the first term of that trinomial is the first square. First, let's set up that box. We know that that diagonal line should give you that middle term, so it should give you 12x. Now, let's start doing that math. From the outside to the inside, we multiply, but from the inside to the outside, we divide. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. We want 2 x's. We have 1, so we need 1 more. All right, now that we have that top term, the first part of our answer, let's multiply. So 1 times negative 3 is 3x. So this is a difficult part. We have a negative 3x. How much do we have to add to get that 12x? And the answer is 15x. So 15x minus 3 should give you 12x. Okay, now we can get the last part of the answer on top. So 15 divided by 5, that's 3. We want 1x. We already have it, so we don't need to put another x. And we got the answer, x plus 3. But are we done? Well, let's check that last box. If that last box gives us negative 1, then we're done. And that is the answer. So 3 times negative 3, how much is that? That's negative 9. And do we want negative 9? No, we want a negative 1. So let's do a remainder. So we have a negative 9, but we want a negative 1. So how much do you have to add to that negative 9 to get negative 1? And the answer is 8. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1. So that means that we have to add an 8 to that 9, and that is the remainder. And how do we write remainder? Well, if you don't remember, just pay attention. So our answer is going to be, like always, that top number, that top binomial. So x plus 3. That's the answer. Okay, but we also have a remainder. So we write plus, right, because it's plus 8 that we need. So plus 8 over the divisor. Remember, the way that we write the remainder is whatever the remainder is over the divisor. And that's the answer. See if you can see if Dylan got the right answer on the next question. Okay, so we did a question like this during our review, our stations review last time. And so 13 basically tells you C is this binomial and D is this other binomial. So then find the value of C minus 2D. So all you have to do for these questions is plug. So replace that C with whatever they tell you it is. So they say C equals that green binomial, so write that green binomial, minus 2 times D, and D is that blue binomial, so write that blue binomial. So now that you wrote it, now you can start simplifying. So the first thing that you have to do is distribute that negative 2, and remember, it's the negative 2, so together with the negative, and rewrite everything else. So the first part, we just bring it down because we don't touch it. The second part is negative 2 times 5, and that is negative 10. And then is negative 2 times negative f. Two negatives make a positive, so it's plus 2f. Now that we distribute it, let's collect like terms. So we have that 5f squared, and we don't have any more squares, so we just bring it down. Okay, let's combine those numbers. Negative 7 minus 10, that's negative 17. And finally, that 2f, we just bring it down. There's no more f's, it's by itself. And that's the correct answer, but remember, we have to write it in standard form. Standard form means biggest degree first, so highest to lowest degree. And the degree is the exponent, right? So we write 5f squared plus 2f minus 17, and that's our answer. Try doing 13b. Okay, so 14, we simplify, and we did a question like this on the quiz. So since we don't have anything to distribute, we can skip that step and go ahead and start dividing. So let's divide 6 by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. And now let's divide those x's. When we divide the same base, that is the quotients of powers rule that says you subtract the exponents. So 14 minus 11 is 3. And this is a reminder. We keep the same base and we subtract the exponents. So let's keep that x and subtract 14 minus 11. We get 3. So we write x to the 3. Now let's do the same thing to y. So we do y to the 8 divided by y to the 13th. So we keep the y and we do 8 minus 13. So top minus bottom, and that gives us negative 5. So we write y to the negative 5. We apply the same rule to z. So we keep the z and we subtract 2 minus 3, which gives us negative 1. And so we write z to the negative 1. And we're almost done, but remember that we never keep negative exponents. So let's change those to positive. So what I do is I draw a line and then decide what stays on top and what flips, what goes to the bottom. So that 2 is a positive exponent, so I keep it on top. That x has a positive exponent, I keep it on top. That y has a negative exponent, so I move it to the bottom, and now it becomes a positive 5. And that z has a negative 1, so I put it in the bottom, and now it becomes a positive 1. And that's the answer. Try doing the next question and see if you get it. This next one is the same thing, but it's a little tough because you're going to see at the end. All right, so I would suggest like the little trick that I showed you, that just if it's a multiple choice question, just plug it in. But if you want to work it out, let's work it out. So first we start by distributing that 4. So everything inside the parentheses gets the 4. The 2 gets the 4, the y squared gets the 4, the 3 gets the 4, and the x gets the 4. Guys, make sure that everything gets the 4. Okay, now that everything has the 4, now let's just bring the other term down. Since the two terms are being multiplied, I can just combine them all into one division. Let's start by simplifying. We can simplify the numbers first. So 2 to the 4 is 16. And 3 to the 4 is 81. 3 to the 4 is 81. Now let's do this top. Let's do the y on top. So we have a power of a power rule. When you have two exponents, you multiply those exponents. So we have y and then 2 times 4, that's 8. So we write y to the 8. Okay, we just write everything down just to see it clearer before we continue. We can start dividing the numbers. We can start combining the numbers. So it's 16 times 3 divided by 81. And that gives you 16 over 27. So just write 16 over 27. And let's write everything else just for clarity. Now we can start dividing the x's. So it's going to be x divided by x to the fourth exponents whenever we divide. And that's the quotient of powers rule, which says whenever you're dividing, we keep the base, but we subtract the exponents. So that's going to be 1 minus 4, which is negative 3. So let's rewrite everything. We get 16 divided by 27. We keep the x and we write to the negative 3. And now let's divide the y's. The rule of quotient of powers says we keep the base, but we subtract the exponents. So that's 8 minus 3 equals 5. So we write y to the 5. Before we simplify, we can tell that that's one of the answers. That's letter B. So we already know that letter B is one of those answers. Let's circle it. And let's simplify further because we know that we don't keep negative exponents, right? So let's move everything that is negative. If it's on top, we put it on the bottom. So we draw the line. The x moves to the bottom so that 3 becomes positive. And the y is already positive 5, so we keep it on top. And that's another answer, and that's letter A. So let's circle it. And I know that you think you're done, but wait. They try to trick you with this question. So let me explain to you why D is also a choice, okay? So this is our final answer, right? Okay, so that top number, the 16, we can get that number by saying 2 times 8, right? All right, and we also know that we can get 8 by having 2 to the power of 3. And that's similar to 27 because we can get 27 by putting 3 to the power of 3. Now, since both of these numbers can be raised to the power of 3, then we can put them in parentheses and just combine them and say 2 over 3 to the power of 3. Remember that there's a 2 left, so we write that on the outside. Let's check if what we wrote is correct. So we have 2 cubed, which is 8, and then 3 cubed, which is 27, and we have that 2 outside, that when we multiply, that top number becomes 16. And that's what we started with, right? 16 over 27. So we check that it's correct. Okay, we can think, what variables can we put inside with the 2 over 3 that we can also raise to the 3? Let's write them down first so that we can see them. Right away, we see that x is being raised to the 3. So we can put it inside the parentheses and group it. And it's already raised to the 3, right? Okay, let's see if y can go inside the parentheses too. Well, y is being raised to the 5. But how do you get 5? Well, you get 5 by saying 3 plus 2, right? So if we take 3 y's and put them inside the parentheses, we are left with 2 y's. So let's put 3 inside and leave 2 out. And let's rewrite that. I'm going to put a y. I'm going to put 3 y's inside. And I'm going to keep 2 outside. Okay. Now we're done. Let's just put the terms that are outside together. So we have 2y squared times 2y over 3x to the power of 3. And that's how we get that to also be an answer. I suggest, guys, if you are allowed a calculator during this time, plug in. Make sure that you're not leaving any answer behind, that you're checking everything before you continue to the next question. Always check. Now, for the next question, I'm gonna plug it in and show you how I plug it in just to see which ones are my answers and which ones aren't my answers. So here I'm just plugging my original. For y, I plugged the 2, and for x, I plugged the 1. So just make sure that every y gets a 2 and every x gets a 1. And I get 25. So that top is going to give me 25.28. Doesn't matter, 25, around 25. Okay, now I'm going to plug the rest of them in and see which ones give me 25. As we can see, the first 2 answer choices give me 25 and the last 2 don't give me 25. So I know right away that my first 2 choices are going to be my answers.